Welcome to Maritime Pakistan, your gateway to the fascinating world of oceans and the opportunities they present to every one of us. Today's explainer explores naval warfare through the book Fleet Tactics and Coastal Combat. We'll be digging into the 9th chapter, the trends and constants of technology, to tackle a really big question.
You know, it's an assumption we all kind of make, right? The side with the futuristic jets, the stealthier ships, they have to win. But if you look at naval history, it tells a much more complicated story. This chapter really makes us ask a fundamental question. Is victory really guaranteed just by having the best gear?
So, to get to the bottom of this, we're going to break our analysis into 5 parts. First, we'll talk about the myth of the superweapon. Then, we'll look at why surprise tech so often fails in the middle of a war. After that, we'll explore the power of slow and steady improvement, and then dive into the cautionary tale of a ship that was way ahead of its time. And finally, we'll pull it all together to see what it really takes to master technological change.
Okay, first up, this idea that a single revolutionary piece of tech can just win a war all by itself. I mean, it's a really compelling idea, but the book argues it's mostly a myth. While technology is always a driver of change, it's almost never the silver bullet we imagine it to be.
Just think about some of history's biggest game changers. Napoleon's victories weren't because his cannons were brand new. They weren't. His victories were revolutionary because of his tactics, the way he used that artillery with incredible speed and concentration. Same thing with the German Blitzkrieg. It's kind of shocking to learn that they didn't have the best tanks. The Allies actually had more and often better ones. The German advantage was tactical, a whole new doctrine that combined tanks, planes, and infantry in this devastating new way. The technology was just a tool. The tactical idea was the true weapon.
So, if a secret weapon isn't the answer before a war, what about introducing one during it? Surely a sudden, shocking new technology can turn the tide, right? Well, the evidence suggests these so-called wonder weapons almost always fall short.
And the reasons these weapons fail, well, it's not usually one single thing, but a whole cascade of practical problems. You can't build enough of them, you haven't tested them properly, they're so complex that your own sailors can't even use them effectively, or sometimes they're so simple the enemy just copies them right away. And crucially, all the secrecy you need to develop the weapon often cripples the very training and development needed to make it work.
World War II is just full of examples. Germany's magnetic mines caused total havoc in British shipping lanes early on, a genuine technological shock. But here's the catch. They were deployed before Germany had enough of them to be decisive, and the British figured out a countermeasure really fast, neutralizing the threat. It was a powerful surprise, but it was a temporary one. The Americans had their own disaster. They developed these advanced magnetic exploders for their torpedoes, designed to detonate right under a ship's hull for maximum damage. The problem? They were rushed and barely tested. For the first year and a half of the war, American submariners were firing duds. The book calls it an unmitigated disaster. The superior tech was actually a massive liability.
And finally, you have the classic problem of too little too late. Germany produced some of the most advanced tech of the entire war. The first jet fighters, cruise and ballistic missiles, and submarines that could run their engines while submerged. I mean, this was truly revolutionary stuff. But every single one of them arrived too late and in too few numbers to have any real strategic impact on the outcome of the war.
So, if surprise wonder weapons in wartime are a bad bet, what's the alternative? The book argues that the real danger isn't being surprised by some secret new weapon. The real danger is failing to keep up with the steady, visible, and constant pace of technological change that happens during peacetime.
And this brings us to a really crucial idea: evolution over revolution. Instead of betting everything on one giant risky leap forward, the book makes the case for a much more measured approach. Build something, learn from it, and then build a slightly better version. This iterative process lets your tactics, your training, and your technology all grow together.
A perfect example of this is how the U.S. Navy developed its cruisers between the world wars. The first ones, the Pensacola class, they were pretty imperfect. Kind of top-heavy, not enough armor. But instead of just scrapping the whole idea, the Navy learned. Every few years, they authorized a new, slightly better class of ships. This process eventually culminated in the magnificent Astoria class, absolutely superb warships that were the product of 15 years of slow, steady improvement. And here's the real kicker. Even those imperfect first-generation Pensacola cruisers fought bravely and effectively all through World War II. They weren't just prototypes, they were valuable warships that paved the way for something even better. That is the evolutionary approach in action. This brings us to a story that just perfectly captures the danger of having brilliant technology without a clear purpose, the cautionary tale of the USS Wampanoag.
Okay, so back in 1869, this ship was an absolute marvel. It was a sprinter, designed for pure, raw speed. During its trials, it hit an astonishing 23 knots. To put that in perspective, no other warship in the entire world would match that speed for another 2 decades. It was basically the stealth fighter of its day.
Its fastest potential rival, the British HMS Adriatic, could barely manage 15 knots. The Wampanoag could literally run circles around anything afloat. It was, without a doubt, a technological masterpiece. Which leads to the central, baffling question. Why was this ship, the fastest, most advanced vessel of its era, almost immediately taken out of service and just left to rot in a harbor?
Well, the answer is simple, and it's pretty brutal. It was a brilliant solution to a problem that didn't exist anymore. It was designed as a commerce raider, but that mission was becoming obsolete. It was a sprinter that guzzled coal, but the U.S. Navy at the time needed long-range cruisers that could patrol distant stations for months, relying on sail power for endurance. The whole nation was looking west, inland, not out to sea. The Wampanoag was a Ferrari built for a world that needed tractors. It had an incredible capability, but absolutely no mesh.
So let's pull all these threads together. What does it actually take to successfully manage these huge technological shifts in warfare? It's all about fusing your technology with tactics and, most importantly, with strategy.
You see, the really great naval revolutions are never about just one thing. They require a combination of new technologies all coming together, like the steam engine, the screw propeller, and the iron hull. But they also need visionary leaders who can see how to combine them in a clear national strategy that gives them a purpose.
And it's also important to be a little humble. The historian Bernard Brodie offers a fantastic piece of wisdom here. He says that sometimes leaders who seem resistant to change aren't blind. They're just more aware of all the practical hurdles, the training, the logistics, the cost, that have to be overcome before some cool new invention can actually be useful.
And that really brings us to the ultimate takeaway from this chapter. Technology for technology's sake is a dead end. It has to solve a tactical problem, it must fit into a larger strategy, it has to serve a mission. A brilliant capability that doesn't do those things is, just like the Wampanoag, ultimately useless.
This leaves us with a pretty provocative final question to think about. The lessons of the past are clear, but are we applying them today? What is our modern Wampanoag? Is there a brilliant, dazzling technology out there that we're pursuing without a clear understanding of its mission, its strategy, or its tactical place in the fleet of the future?